welcome to you. My name is Chioma Okpara. This is a half-hour program that celebrates the beautiful side of us. The program is called Art and Leisure. Today we're going to different venues in different places: Ghana, Benin, Lagos. Let's start from Benin. Many artists of great repute participated in a multi-series exhibition to commemorate Nigeria's Centenary. Why would such take place in Benin? Well, if you are a student of history, you'd remember that it was in 1914 that the famous and powerful Iyabo Tijani passed on. Yes, he died whilst in exile in Calabar. He was one Oba who fought against British imperialism. 100 years after his death, his memory lingers on. Watch this. Princess Elizabeth Olowu is the daughter of Oba Kinzo II, the Oba of Benin from 1933 to 1978. She decorates one of the performers and tells the story of the Benin people through songs.
The Beninese believe that you come to this earth 14 times. God gives you 14 opportunities to repent, to repair your ways. 14 times. They don't believe when you die, you go to hell or heaven, water 14 times. So you believe in reincarnation.
Others join her. This group is ready for a procession. This is an art project titled Whose Centenary. These artists and art lovers are commemorating the 100th anniversary of the death of Iyabo Tijani.
In celebrating 1914, we looked at the costumes of Benin. For example, we know that Benin has a lot of costumes, very colorful costumes. We also, in the last 3 years, have collected praise songs of the kings. And I know that in celebrating the achievements of Iyabo, who fought against British imperialism or British incursion, that when you sing songs about that particular king, you must take on board the commemoration and celebration of other kings as well. Moved from the King's Quarters, which is at Kenswell Street, and then moved over to Airport Road, down to the front of the palace, and through Sakomba Road, to the Ring Road, Sakomba Road to Igun Street.
As the group showed off the rich Benin culture, passers-by were educated and also entertained. Wura Natasha Ogunji questions the relationship between the sacred and the profane as she sweeps the streets. Jumoke Verisimo, a poet, did a rendition titled No Answer.
The idea of the performance itself is to read from the page, because we are trying to reenact the idea of the colonialists presenting their rules and subjects and issues to the people.
Jelili Atiku erects a cathedral and calls Iyabo Tijani God.
Holy Iyabo is the Savior, the mighty, the holiness.
It is not a caricature. If you study the history of the people of Benin, the king is a god in form. For the personality of Iyabo, when he was alive, he defended the people. So he is a god.
Burns, a film, talks about the similarities between the ethics and Beninese in his performance.
When Iyabo was exiled from Benin, he lived in Calabar for 17 years, and he died in 1914, which was the actual year of the amalgamation of North and South Nigeria. And if you look at the title of this show, it's called Whose Centenary, which is actually a satire whether the centenary of Nigeria should be a centenary of Iyabo's death or the British invasion of the Benin Kingdom. So you cannot remove the ethics and Calabar from the story. The lesson we're supposed to learn from it as a country is to be able to know our history, to document what happens in our country. Because from my research about this issue I'm acting on, most of the photos about the whole incident, you can only find them in British Museum.
Visual artists also exhibited.
That is in line with whose centenary it is, which is a part of the death of Obaverame as well, which was 1914, so which happens to be the same year Nigeria was amalgamated. The first one has to deal with when he was still in power and everything, with his crown and glory and everything, and the second one was when he was being taken to exile.
In 2010, I had an exhibition titled Benin1897.com, and I drew attention to the works that were plundered. And what I have here is an installation of works of heads, and they are placed in a similar way in which they were removed from the bedchamber of the king and also the shrines in the palace. The bronze works were done by the Egun casters, and the terracotta were done by me. And the plaques, which are hanging from the rooftop, mounted in the home of the Ine. The Ine of Egun is the head of the guild. So symbolically, it is quite important to have my work mounted here at the Ine's palace. And some of the works done by the casters are also put into this installation. For me, this is very important, and it shows that the academically trained artists and the artists who reside on the streets, who have been producing works for several centuries, can come together and build a coalition that will help the arts, that will help further the arts, our advancement of the arts.
Taye Idaho has used drawings to create an installation of the head adornment worn by Bini queens. Jude Anogui interrogates the concept of movement, mobility, migration, and border. This outdoor exhibition and workshop took place at Igu Street. Igu Street is a World Heritage Site and the home of traditional bronze casters in Benin.
We have chosen this street because we're trying to reinvent the concept of the museum, bringing the artists and their works to the people and the community.
Dr. Kwejula Iwola is an associate professor of art history and the head of creative arts department of the University of Lagos. Her mother is a Bini princess, whose centenary project is a brainchild. 1914 could be remembered in different ways. We also know that there was another amalgamation which took place in 1906. So we are asking questions. Why do we commemorate an event that was done 100 years ago, that was actually a British arrangement? We know that there's a lot to celebrate in the arts and culture, and Benin is the place to be. A Portuguese curated the show.
The connection between Portugal and Nigeria, they are quite strong. The Portuguese was the ones that somehow, they were the first Western people that came to Nigeria, and Benin was the first place that they came through.
Bini people are thrilled about this project.
It's a very welcome development and a laudable program for that matter. We are all excited and happy. We do hope that it's going to be a continuous program.
I think this is a starting point, and because of the response that we got so far, we are encouraged to come back next year.
Bini has a rich history. This groundbreaking art intervention is a reminder that there was once a king who stood against British imperialism in defense of his kingdom. These artists are saying that the exploits of Obaverame not by sea and its enduring legacies make Nigeria a force to reckon with. Welcome back. One thing you can't take away from Bini people is the rich history and culture. Now let's talk about Africa. It is not an overstatement to say that Africa is a blessed continent. Human resource is not in short supply here. I'm sure you're wondering and asking yourself, so why are many nations in this continent not making as much progress as many developed nations? Well, the Pan-African Strategy and Policy Research Group has proffered some solutions. Watch this. 54 countries in Africa are about to experience new things. Scholars from different parts of the continent converged on Accra, in fact, in this room, to discuss the way forward for our beloved continent. The group focused on the economic and socio-cultural aspects. There are 5 regions in Africa recognized by the African Union, but a group seemed not to be accommodated in all the regions.
When they were forming the African Union from AU, decided that they need to bring all the other Africans who are not in the continent under the 6th region of Africa. Now, since it's the 6th region, it means that they recognize that they are Africans, but they are not living in the continent. So what better word for us to use than to call them non-resident Africans?
Having the 6th region, which would take care of Africans who live outside the continent, was a major discourse here. Dr. Rudolph Tombad, a Cameroonian who lives in Addis Ababa, moderated.
How is it going to be made that the AU accept our brothers who are not living in Africa in the 6th region? And we talked about the regions, the economic regions. We have ECOWAS, we have the Maghreb, which is the north, we have the East African Community, we have the SADC, we have the UDIAC, and those are the 5 regions that exist now. So what are they going to do that our brothers who are abroad are accepted in this region? They have given the proposition, and the proposition is there, it's not legalized. How can we legalize it?
Dr. Sandra Ocheng Springer, a Kenyan who lives and works as a lecturer in Barbados, shared some lessons she learned at a conference.
I went to the Sir Arthur Lewis Centennial Conference in St. Lucia in the Caribbean, and this was a celebration of he would have been 100 years next month, so they just thought it fit to have a conference in celebration of his achievements. Lewis was especially interested with issues of social justice, for example, which I think is related to what we're discussing. Interested in issues of human rights, interested in issues of basic needs. So his economics was always how to bring the person at the bottom, how to help the person at the bottom.
Dr. Ndafa Kamfindaka, a Namibian, led the discussion on Global African Festival.
Once we have the 6th region being established or being accepted within the AU, then at the end of the day, we will have the Global African Festival of Art and Culture.
The group discussed at length about having a festival every year where all African countries will be represented.
Festac took place in Nigeria or Lagos, and then you have a Panafest taking place in Ghana. Okay. So it means we can easily organize it. But if that is our aim for now, then I would like us to look at some other points besides just organizing it. Are we organizing it for nothing or for organizing sake? Or are we organizing it in order to unite our people and then to make some economic gains?
Establishing a global African trade center is also a major concern to Panastrag.
For us to have the global African trade in Africa, in any of the regions in Africa, would be a very good and wonderful development to Africa.
Panastrag is an acronym for Pan-African Strategy and Policy Research Group. It is an international organization which promotes African history and culture. This meeting in Accra was for brainstorming. Issues that affect Africa were discussed and solutions preferred. Each day of these 3 days pre-Congress meeting had a different focus. This meeting has been adjudged successful, but what happens to all that has been said here?
The topics that we have discussed are of concern to both resident Africans and non-resident Africans, including those who have been in the diaspora for the past 100 years, 500 years or so. So we have discussed subjects that are of interest to the people themselves, really. So if AU or ECOWAS or any of these international organizations are concerned with the people, especially with African peoples all over the world, then these are areas in which they must take some interest.
If Africa has cerebral minds like these, One wonders why many of his nations are still in the third world category.
Our dependence on advisors from outside Africa hasn't helped and cannot help us. It's important that we rise up and deal with our issues ourselves.
This is one brainstorming that will yield fruit.
One of the discussions we have had is to look out for champions. Champions, individuals who are going to help us champion this cause. Because they're good in these things and they have already taken the lead to show their leadership, they have worked in this area, some of them long before us. So I am hoping that from here, if we have these action points, I, for example, should be able to contact some of these champions, as my little contribution.
Pan-African Strategy and Policy Research Group wants to see a continent where there is equity, justice, security, stability, and continuous progress. Nice to have you back. Well done, Pan-African Strategy and Policy Research Group. Yes, I'm saying well done to them because they discarded ethnic and religious sentiments to think of the way forward for Africa. We've got it all here. God has richly blessed us. If you live in Lagos or you are a tourist, do you know that it is possible for you to let your head down, even in the midst of the hustle and bustle? The Musical Society of Nigeria has designed a new concert series. How did I come about this information? MUSON had an interactive session with journalists. Stick around for details. The Musical Society of Nigeria has a new artistic director. He has designed a new concert series tagged New Horizon. The series will run for 4 months, February, March, April, and June.
The whole concert series is looking at different areas. The first concert is looking at jazz and spoken word. The second concert is a collaboration with the MUSON choir. The third concert is really giving a platform to some of the opera singers here at the MUSON, as well as bringing in a guest opera soloist from the States called Laverne Williams. And the fourth concert is really music theatre work centred around a 19th century violinist who was actually born in West Africa, through slavery ended up in Brazil and then eventually in Europe.
Opera, jazz, classical, choral, and spoken word performers will showcase their talents.
Most of the work in that particular first concert is really created by people from here. The second concert, The African Messiah, is different because that's a work that's been already written. In terms of that piece, The African Messiah is actually a meeting point between African classical music and Western classical music in its conception. The third concert is one that was actually put together by a soprano here from the MUSON called Ranti. That piece is more of classical works that you would recognise as classical works, adapted into a storyline that connects with here. And the fourth concert, again, that's one which was going to be more of an international, has an international take, so you've got musicians coming in from a South American tradition but meeting with African classical music.
Tunde Jegede has a Nigerian father and an Irish mother. He's not a greenhorn in this field.
He's a composer, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He plays the kora, he plays the cello, he plays piano, and has a background of both African and classical music.
MUSON says organizing this concert series is to help hardworking Lagosians and tourists relax in a creative way. Welcome back. That's MUSON's way of helping you to relax. Now, if you're looking for something new, you just want something to do that could be quite therapeutic, I would suggest you go see exhibitions from time to time. Okay, while you think about that, I want to show you art pieces that speak about the challenges that women face every day. It's only a woman that can fully understand what another woman is going through. So let me invite Dr. Iyabo Tijani.
In the African way of life, the woman is supposed to be behind the man at all times. The female is seen as an embodiment of service to the male in the society. As a result, through the years, this culture has metamorphosed, and it exists in schools, it exists in the workplace, it exists in the marketplace, it exists in marriages for the girl person.
Dr. Iyabo Tijani is a daughter, wife, and mother. She's gone through different phases and challenges. As a career woman, she's seen it all. She wants women to challenge status quo and take the bull by the horns in the achievement of their goals. She titled the exhibition, Breaking Bounds.
These boundaries, they are inhibitors, sort of. Even though they are silent, they're not pronounced, we don't want them to exist as such. Even the men don't want them to exist, even though they sort of enjoy the existence of these boundaries. Look at our political situation, for instance. I've listened to women talk on TV or radio of how men go into meetings late into the night. They left their own wives at home, and they know that other women want to participate. They want to be a part of such meeting. You will not allow your wife to go out late at night. Why are you fixing meetings for late at night? Why don't you fix the meetings for daytime? These are the kind of support that we want from the men.
Women have peculiar challenges, and that's what Dr. Tijani has represented on different canvases.
Inner Corridors is something from the depth of my heart, talking about the problems that women go through in life. There are so many dark corridors that you have to walk through. It doesn't mean that we don't have the brighter corridors. We have happiness, we have a marriage, a life partner who is good, who takes you through a very lovely corridor. You have kids who make you happy, who make you proud, take you through the lovely corridors. This work is titled Motherhood. So much is happening and has happened in Nigeria, both politically, economically, socially, enough to actually put this country in disarray. But the mothers who believe in the existence of this country have kept on praying despite all that, and that is why we're still together.
Dr. Tijani has not kept quiet since the abduction of the Chibok girls.
This work is titled Bring Back Our Girls. We have a lot of people like agitating, raising up their hands and actually asking government to do something about our girls. Sambisa Forest. Before the issue of taking our girls to Sambisa Forest, we've always heard about nice things of Sambisa Forest. In those days when I was a student at Ahmadu Bello University, some of my colleagues do go there for holidays. They come back with pictures of wild animals and all that, and it sounds like a place that one should go to for a holiday. Unfortunately, when the girls were kidnapped and taken to Sambisa Forest, it became a place that people want to know more about. It came to me that one should represent what it could be like. So I came up with this, where we have a lot of white, which represents peace, then a lot of darkness, red and yellow, which represents upheaval and unrest.
She also pays attention to other national issues.
This work is titled What Ebola? The border, like getting out of Nigeria, going to Benin Republic, is a very busy place. A lot of people are coming in and going. You don't know who has this Ebola. So I have something like landing with a bang in the country, and with so much confusion and contemplations by everybody. This is expunging Ebola from Nigeria. Heroes of Ebola, done in commemoration of all those who died as a result of contacting Ebola, most especially the women who were caregivers and care handlers.
This painting shows what the people of Osun State believe in.
This is Iyabo Osun. It has to do with Oshogbo, Osun Oshogbo. That is the worship of the river Osun. In those days, there used to be a very big, life-size, like human-sized fish. I assume that to be a kind of mami water that comes out of that water when they go there for this annual event. They come with the beating of the gong, and the young maiden carrying, they call her Aruba. She's carrying a big tray with a lot of nice things on that tray. She comes dancing to the stream, to the river, and they put this thing down and put a big calabash beside it. So this river goddess, when they start calling, she comes out. They sing all sorts of songs. She comes out, and there's water in her mouth which she pours in the big calabash, and then she eats from the tray that the maiden has carried, and then she swims back into the river. So that water in the calabash heals every ailment.
Dr. Tijani taught graphics at Iyabo College of Technology before moving over to Ahmadu Bello University, where she teaches teachers of art. She says having her paintings in abstract form is deliberate.
I'm not struggling to actually get the first color to tell you what is on the canvas. I want to engage the audience.
Whilst at the School of Art, Design and Printing, Iyabo College of Technology, Dr. Iyabo Tijani rose from the level of lecturer 2 to a chief lecturer. She has served as the head of Department of Fine Arts. Her colleagues appreciate her work.
It's unique, and aside that fact, you begin to now see in the work the trends of these areas movement, that's the style in Zaria.
Dr. Iyabo Tijani has presented papers at different conferences and seminars, written periodicals and articles for international journals. She has served in exalted capacities. Her wish is for more women to become big players in different sectors.
Give a woman a chance, and what you get is somebody who is very intelligent, who is very kind, who is going to approach matters from a motherly point of view, where it's a live and let live kind of society.
Wow, what more can I say? She really hit the nail on the head. Thank you so much, Dr. Tijani, and thank you too for making our time to watch the program today. Please visit our website, www.artandleisure.com.ng. Always remember to leave a comment after watching the program online. God bless you. Join us sometime next week for another great offering, God willing. My name is Iyabo Tijani. Love yourself. Love Nigeria.